There was a time when you were sitting at the anchor desk of the most popular cable news network in the United States, drawing in millions of people and making a seven-figure income. The next thing you know, you're completely vanished. Fox News announced their split with Kimberly Guilfoyle with a single chilly sentence, no farewell, no explanation. It was painfully quiet for someone whose whole career hinged on having her voice heard. I don't understand what might drive a network to spend more than $4 million, 0 cents, to simply remove someone off their system. An ugly aspect of media power becomes apparent in the truth behind Kimberly Guilfoyle's surprise departure from Fox News, which highlights how rapidly a career can fall apart once the cameras stop running. To really grasp what transpired behind the scenes at Fox News, you must first grasp Kimberly Guilfoyle's impressive career trajectory. Simply put, the more you climb, the more difficult it is to descend in the city of San Francisco. In 1969, when she is 11 years old, a girl loses her mother to leukemia. That sorrow would serve as the driving force behind her life for decades to come. The hardships that Kimberly Guilfoyle endured shaped her into the strong woman she is today. Something that few people ever realize is that everything you hold dear can disappear in a heartbeat, and that she learned that lesson from her early loss. A humble life had been constructed by her Puerto Rican mother and her Irish immigrant father, who had toiled as construction workers. In the heart of Mission Hill, Kimberly learned the hard way that stability was just a mirage. When her mother passed away from cancer, she would never again make a choice in her life without this insight. She turned her fears into drive and fought her way through law school while her classmates were still dreaming about their future careers. Her debut was in the courtroom. Her unusual talent for making even the most complex cases feel personal was honed during her time as a prosecutor in San Francisco and Los Angeles. She captivated juries with her compelling narratives, going beyond mere case arguments. This is where the majority of folks are mistaken, though. Their assumption is that she made a purposeful shift from practicing law to working in television. I find the reality to be far more intriguing. When she initially appeared on camera in 2000, she was working as a legal analyst, and her main concern was making ends meet. She had reached the pinnacle of her legal profession. Her marriage to Gavin Newsom was coming to an end, and she needed a fresh start. Her on-screen naturalness was the biggest surprise. In contrast to the other legal experts, Kimberly came across as kind and casual, as if she were just having a casual discussion. With poise and assurance, she could explain even the most intricate legal disputes in language your grammar could comprehend. That inspired entire faith in her from the audience. She was given a regular role on both sides by Court TV by 2004. This wasn't a civilized case law meeting. Kimberly was a bored gladiator in this blood sport that was television. She had the ability to passionately argue for or against any given case, which would be an asset in the future party conflicts. The game changer, though, was Fox News. Kimberly felt this was her chance at the majors when they called in 2006. Her ascent at Fox was incredibly rapid. In just 5 years, she had achieved her lifelong goal, a highly sought-after position on The Five. She excelled in this format. She had expanded her role beyond only offering legal commentary. From cultural concerns to foreign policy, she jumped headfirst into passionate political arguments, giving biting comments on all fronts. Kimberly Guilfoyle had accomplished something that the majority of TV personalities can only fantasize about by the middle of the 2010s. Her contributions were now crucial. She was paid a fair wage for her services, several $100,000. This is the kind of cash that commands respect and comes with lofty expectations. Her role as a Fox News host had expanded. She was famous in her own right. Having a successful television career comes with its fair share of challenges. The more prominent you are, the more people will be looking at you, not to mention that Kimberly had someone close to her, keeping a tight eye on her, someone who was on the brink of a revolutionary shift. At the beginning of July 2018, Kimberly Guilfoyle was just like any other month. As a co-host of The Five, she was able to inspire admiration among her peers and intimidate her political opponents. Her influence extended to millions of viewers. Then, though, an event occurred, which would cause a ruckus in the media, and the official narrative doesn't add up. A shockingly brief statement was issued by Fox News. They broke up with her and announced it in a single statement. She was not thanked for her years of service, and there was no explanation or final tribute. The absolute lack of sound was unbearable for the woman who had laboriously transformed Fox's afternoon programming into a ratings powerhouse for more than 10 years. Prominent exits do not occur in this manner, as anyone who has been watching the media for an extended period of time can tell you. Even in his shame, Bill O'Reilly's departure from Fox was covered in headlines and analysis articles. Kimberly Guilfoyle just disappeared when Megyn Kelly left for NBC, although there was a media frenzy surrounding her departure. There was a jarring and striking difference. Despite the problems, O'Reilly was nevertheless given a farewell piece that recognized his efforts. Public statements were sent to Kelly expressing well wishes. The company press statement that Guilfoyle received appeared to be a notice of termination. Nothing was haphazard about the official story. Leaving television was Kimberly's decision to seek political chances, and more particularly to join President Trump's 2020 campaign. It seemed reasonable on paper. Politics has always been a part of her life. She was able to get the kind of prominent platform she desired through her ties in Republican circles and through her work on campaigns. Now let me tell you what didn't make sense: time, procedure, and establishment. The timing was strange to begin with. There were over 2 years before the 2020 election, which happened in July 2018. It is unusual for major campaign jobs to become available so early. To add to that, it was an entirely new procedure. Famous people like Kimberly don't suddenly vanish from the face of the earth. Thirdly, when was the last time Fox was so quick to let go of a major celebrity with little to no public outcry? In earlier seasons, the network had battled to retain significantly less important figures. The choice to let Guilfoyle go so simply hinted to the presence of other factors. A few days later, whispers began to circulate. Speculation regarding internal matters started circulating among media insiders. Many issues that occurred behind the scenes. But the thing that did not happen is probably the most revealing aspect. Even though she had made a name for herself by speaking her mind, Kimberly hardly mentioned her departure. Her abrupt unwillingness to address the topic of her departure was quite concerning for someone who had always been bold and outspoken. Over time, her social media updates became monotonous and unremarkable. Her remarks to the audience were concise and well planned. Her sudden shift to political work also raised eyebrows. Kimberly seemed almost desperate as she dove headfirst into campaign activities, appearing at Trump rallies and raising money for Republican candidates within weeks. She seemed to be rushing things along in the hopes that nobody would dare to ask her any probing questions. At the same time, Fox News proceeded with pinpoint accuracy. Without a pause, the fight persisted. Nothing was spoken about how she had helped the network succeed or how one of its biggest stars had just disappeared. There were also no reminiscence montages. This erasure was shocking for longtime fans. Kimberly disappeared the day after they were watching her provide her signature passionate comments. The network failed to provide any explanation, which led to speculation filling the hole. Unbeknownst to us, 2,000 corporate boardrooms and legal offices were recording a completely different narrative from the one Kimberly was promoting in the public eye and laying the groundwork for her new political career. A story that would come to light at some point and show how far Fox News would go to cover up stories. Kimberly Guilfoyle's true motive for leaving was kept secret for 2 years, hidden under well-managed public relations and company secrecy agreements. Subsequently, an investigative article published in October 2020 by The New Yorker destroyed the truth so unsettling that it altered our perception of her departure. A young woman started the story off with what appeared to be her ideal job, assisting a major star on Fox News. In its place, she received a nightmare that would follow her about like a shadow for years. A 42-page secret complaint was submitted against Kimberly Guilfoyle by this assistant in November 2018, months after Kimberly had already left the network, according to the New Yorker story. The timing was of the essence. What this meant was that Fox News was dealing with major claims from within, while publicly claiming her departure was voluntary and amicable. The breadth and clarity of the claims made in that lawsuit were very striking. The assistant claimed that Guilfoyle had engaged in systematic abuse of her in the workplace that exceeded what is deemed standard professional behavior, according to persons familiar with the complaint. There was more going on than just the odd boundary crossing or offensive comment. The accusations portrayed a powerful woman who went above all standards of professional behavior in her harsh work environment. According to the assistant, she was often obliged to work at Guilfoyle's New York residence as the Fox host showed her nude body, which made the young woman feel confined and uneasy, but she couldn't leave without jeopardizing her employment. Worrying even more were claims that Guilfoyle would allegedly show her assistant photos of the private parts of individuals with whom she had an affair. These glimpses weren't coincidental. They were calculated attempts to subjugate and humiliate. Additionally, the sister said that Guilfoyle would often bring up her personal life, subjecting her employee to explicit details that were unrelated to their job, but served as a means for her to assert her authority. The plaintiff contended that Guilfoyle went beyond verbal harassment and into physical demands for touch. The pattern of conduct went beyond only sexual harassment and included other forms of maltreatment in the workplace. According to the lawsuit, Guilfoyle effectively told her assistant to fucking shoot herself in order to succeed in her career by having an affair with a rich and powerful man. While on business trips, she allegedly insisted that her assistant and her stay in the same room, breaking down all barriers between personal and professional spheres. There were more than just these occurrences. According to the claims, the assistant endured intolerable treatment on the job and was subjected to repeated instances of disrespectful, abusive, and otherwise inappropriate behavior that went beyond the norms of professional ethics. The assistant's attempts to deal with the situation only add to the story's unsettling nature, At first, she tried to handle these matters informally, thinking that a chat would be enough to sort things out. She had no intention of ruining anyone's professional life. No employee should have to go through what she did. All she wanted was to do her job. After her attempts at informal resolution failed, she resorted to working within the system in the hopes that the Fox News Human Resources Department would handle the matter in a professional manner. However, according to reports, matters escalated once the assistant determined that official action was necessary. The New Yorker report that Guilfoyle sought to bribe the assistant in order to keep her from disclosing information to the attorneys that Fox News had retained, in an effort to obstruct the inquiry. What followed was an extensive and costly investigation. Fox News brought in attorneys with experience in workplace harassment lawsuits from an independent law firm to manage the matter. The general population was in the dark about everything that was going on during this months-long procedure. Fox upheld the fiction that Kimberly's departure had been voluntary while they dealt with severe claims from within. It was remarkable, not remarkable, that Fox News struck a deal. The assistant allegedly received almost $4 million, 0 cents, from the network as a settlement. As stated in various stories, $4 million, if you want some context, that's more than the average American will make in a lifetime of employment just to settle a single workplace complaint. It wasn't a settlement to avoid trouble. Such a large sum of money would indicate that Fox News wished to keep these accusations under wraps and took them seriously. Accompanying the payout were stringent secrecy agreements that forbade the assistant from uttering a word about the accusations, the probe, or the settlement. With a payment of this size, Fox News executives may wonder what they thought had transpired. Businesses do not shell out tens of millions of dollars to settle baseless lawsuits. Allegations that the network evidently deemed serious enough to warrant such a massive financial expenditure were covered up in exchange for this sum. A new career in political action was taking shape for Kimberly at the same time. She had a very private and professional transition when she joined Trump's campaign. Being in a relationship with Donald Trump Jr. provided her with a platform that was as visible and influential as her television job, as well as access to the highest levels of Republican politics. But the interesting part is this. It is remarkable that she remained mute on one particular subject, considering that she had become known for being vocal and aggressive. Kimberly would talk about practically anything, including her departure from Fox News, in interviews, rallies, and public appearances. She gave reporters suspiciously quick, prepared responses when they questioned about her departure. Never once did she address the details, the timing, or the abruptness of her leaving. All she did was talk about wanting to work in politics, being excited about new challenges, and being grateful for her time at Fox. This unexpected unwillingness to address her own career background was revealing for someone who had always avoided controversy. It implied that some parts of her leaving were too sensitive to discuss publicly for fear of repercussions. The stillness had many functions. She was able to safeguard Fox News, her new connections in Republican politics, and the stories surrounding her career change all at once. There was little public scrutiny of the network as it proceeded to pay millions to resolve severe accusations. Fox News managed the whole thing with pinpoint accuracy. They paid to keep everyone quiet, eliminated a potentially disruptive personality, and went on with their show unabated. Despite avoiding the type of protracted scandal that had dogged the network in prior years, The Five continued to be a ratings triumph. Although the assistant would be financially secure as a result of the deal, she would also be permanently silenced. Despite receiving large pay for coming forward with serious charges of mistreatment in the workplace, she was unable to share her tale publicly. Not only did the New Yorker piece come out in 2020, but it also showed how powerful institutions would spend a lot of money to keep quiet and how far they would go to protect their reputations. Despite vehement denials from her lawyers, Kimberly went on the record as saying she had never committed any form of misbehavior in the workplace. However, Kimberly persisted in being mum regarding the details even after the news broke. She issued a general denial of the accusations without addressing any of the specifics, offering no alternate reasons for her departure or explaining why Fox News would pay millions to settle baseless lawsuits. In the years following the New Yorker expose, Kimberly Guilfoyle showed extraordinary self-control in maintaining her public persona. She rebranded herself as a political power broker, made appearances at rallies, and raised millions of dollars for Republican politicians. However, behind the scenes, a different event was unfolding. Kimberly finally let the world know the real price of her exit from Fox News in a rare instance of unfiltered honesty at the age of 55, shattering years of carefully orchestrated public remarks. She stunned everyone with an admission she made in a conversation that caught even the most seasoned political observers unawares. The scandal had devastated her. The statements were more powerful than any public denial, business statement, or legal brief. This confession of weakness was remarkable. For someone whose entire career had been about displaying strength, control, and unwavering confidence. She said it happened in a couple of days and she lost all her hard work. Elimination without justification or explanation. It all came crashing down in an instant after 20 years of hard work, networking, and earning the respect of an audience. People didn't recognize this as the same Kimberly they saw on TV or at political events, the one who was bold and aggressive. Someone had to face the fact that decades of hard work might be instantly wiped out by a single accusation, no matter how true it was. People seem to think you can just forget about them, she said. It's as if you have the power to rewrite your own narrative and escape notice. But that is something they will never forget, never have they. Included in every introduction is a mention of the controversy. The accusations are mentioned in every profile. The use of the qualifier "despite her past troubles" is used to qualify every triumph. Her high-profile relationships, fundraising efforts, and political accomplishments had all been for naught until this disclosure. Nothing, not even the assurances of others, could mend the profound psychological wounds inflicted by the incident. She elaborated on the shift from being admired and respected to being known just by a whisper. A person's sense of self was shattered along with their employment. Everything changes when you lose the base that you've built your whole self-esteem on. Professional success and being perceived as competent. She considered handing over her life to Fox News. She is a faithful friend, full of life and ideas. She developed shows, attracted viewers, and generated revenue for them. And as soon as it grew awkward or someone started making accusations, she disappeared. She was denied the chance to defend herself, and farewells. Complete stillness. Anger that had persisted despite years of political achievement was palpable in the seeming animosity. She had never been able to shake the shadow cast by her exit from Fox News. No matter how many new careers she had, how many loves she had, or how much public attention she had maintained. Regarding the media industry's power dynamics, her revelation may have been the most illuminating component. She had learned the hard way that her seven-figure salary, her influence, and her success could go in an instant. Founded on claims that may never be adequately validated or refuted, her deepest suffering had been the weight of her silence, she said. No matter how many times she appeared in public or how many times she reinvented herself, the narrative would not let go of the headlines. As long as you keep pondering what other people know or believe they know, you will never be able to go forward. Also exposed by the revelation was the untenable situation that prominent people find themselves in as a result of scandals. It will make you appear guilty if you deny too strongly. People will assume the worst if you don't say anything. Anyone who tries to move on is immediately accused of trying to dodge responsibility. There is no way to get fully justified or made right with the world. She realized she had survived, that she had created something fresh, that she had discovered her life's calling, and that she had found love. Was aware of ways to impact the world, but she would never regain her pre-event self. No amount of triumph could revive the part of her that perished in that stillness. Beyond her immediate circumstances, her perspective raises a disturbing question. How would you battle to restore your reputation if an instant, an accusation, or a choice might destroy all that you have worked so hard to achieve? In what ways can one establish the null hypothesis? Amidst hushed conversations, how can one protect themselves? Is a valid question in this day and age when accusations can ruin careers, where news spreads quicker than facts, and where public opinion governs more than judicial systems. Mathematically, contemporary scandal is harsh and merciless. A single scandal can ruin decades of hard work. Even though the incident that ruined Kimberly Guilfoyle's career in the media will always be associated with her, she is still a major player in Republican politics today. The assistant was paid a considerable salary, but she is unable to speak up since she is legally obligated to keep quiet. The Fox News network continued without recognizing the consequence of their silence. A major news network was prepared to pay millions to keep it secret, regardless of the full truth of what transpired behind those Fox News doors. It was costly, serious, and harmful enough. Whether someone is guilty or not isn't necessarily the crux of the matter. An enterprise founded on the promise of telling the truth is now facing questions of power, accountability, and the cost of remaining silent.